Good day. Sally here. Thanks for joining me today for our second of our two-part series. And I call this Alchemy of Healing because we're combining nature's remedies and the healing power of your own body. Today, we're going to talk about healing from the inside out. And as a disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I will not diagnose. Only you can make the decisions for you. You have free will to either accept or reject what I share. You decide for you. And why alchemy? Well, I love this definition of alchemy because it's a power or process that changes or transforms something in a mysterious or impressive way. And that is our bodies. They are phenomenal at taking everything we give them on the level of our body, of our mind, and of our spirit, and taking that and moving forward and creating the life that we have right now. Why me? Well, traditional medicine only gave me temporary relief. And I didn't like the idea of being dependent on a medication. I wanted to take care of not just the symptom, I wanted to heal myself. I wanted to feel good all the time without medication. And I knew there had to be a better way. So after 35 plus years of studying and practicing and applying, you are going to hear what I've learned over those years. About 35 years ago, I've been a practicing hygienist for 43 years, and I was starting to work in pain, and I knew I couldn't survive in the field that I had chosen, my chosen profession, if I continued the way I was going. So I had to find something different. And that's what opened the doors for me to become, oh my gosh, I basically am just like you. I'm looking for a way to feel good right now. And so if you're dealing with stress and anxiety, headaches, digestive issues, chronic pain, and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you're in the right place. Or maybe you're okay most of the time, but want better and more natural ways to take care of yourself and your family, both now and when issues arrive. Well, you're in the right place. And you already know quite a bit about natural and energy healing modalities, and you want to stay educated, informed, and connecting with people who get you, you're in the right place. Because I am all of those people. And I bet there are bits and pieces of those people in you as well. If you're committed to learning the skills to maximize your body's performance, you know it was designed intelligently, and you want to understand what your body tells you. Well, yeah, that's you too, right? Bits and pieces of everything. So last week, if you didn't get the recording, please contact me at sally@yourblissfuljourney.com. But last week, we talked about healing from the outside in. And I think of that as more somebody helping you through something, right? So we talked about craniosacral therapy, somato-emotional release, where you can release some emotional attachments in your body. We talked about system nutrition, and system nutrition is more than just an organ here and an organ there. We're looking at your respiratory system, your endocrine system, your rejuvenation. We're looking at your toxic levels and how to release and support the organs that help with reducing toxicity. We talked about ergonomics and how being ergonomic or being balanced or being proactive in your body, mind, and spirit by noticing how you're holding yourself, how you're breathing. Ergonomics is important. And then we talked about dental health, something close to my heart, yes. Chakra balancing, reflexology, just a really good foot massage, and a tip that you can do at home that can keep you away from chiropractors, massage therapists. Give it a go. And I touched on essential oils. There's so much with essential oils. Tonight or today, we're going to talk about, like I mentioned, healing from the inside out. So we'll touch on heart-centered therapy, pendulums, cord cutting, Eden energy medicine, manifestation, and ultimate healing. And I look at these because these are things that, while we are always responsible for our health and staying in tune with ourselves, these are more things that after you learn them, they're easier to do at home on your own. But it's more fun in a group. So what if you could harness energy? You can, and it's available now. And no doubt you have felt it before. You have felt other people's energy when you have walked into a place. I mean, we've heard that you could cut the tension with a knife, or you've walked into a party and you knew that you shouldn't be there, so you kind of step on back, or maybe you didn't and you wish you had. Or you just click with somebody else. That is meeting somebody on an energetic level. But I want to show you a way to use that energy right now to know how you can read yourself. And also a little tip on how you can use it to help yourself when you're not feeling so great. So what I'd like you to do is just rub your hands together. And that just kind of activates your hand chakras. We're rubbing them together to create a little warmth. And then what I'd like you to do is take your hands and hold them apart. Hold them about a distance like this, about shoulder distance apart. And I'd like you just to feel what it feels like as you pull your hands closer together. Perhaps you feel a tingling. Perhaps you feel almost a resistance to going even closer together. Perhaps you feel nothing at all, and that's okay. But let's just pretend, let's just imagine, let's just daydream about the fact that maybe you can feel it. So here it is. And now I would like you get to a point where you feel a little resistance. You can actually really feel that they're there. And if you can't, just pretend, like I said. And now I'd like you to just imagine That's something that doesn't feel good to you, that's kind of draining on you, that makes you angry or anxious and just yucky feeling. And do you notice that that energy, that ball in between your hands is getting smaller and smaller? Yeah. So that's your energy field just kind of sucking in because it doesn't feel good. It knows to play it close to the vest, right? To not be seen at this time because something is uncomfortable. And now, let's switch it up. Now I would like you to think of something that makes you feel really good. Yeah. Maybe it's a snow day. Maybe it's going to the beach or reading a book or having tea with a friend or going dancing or playing with your grandkids or your kids or watching a great movie. And do you notice how that energy, how your hands are feeling a little bit more space in between them? That's your energy field expanding. And this is the energy you want to be in when you want to take command of a room, when you are having a good time and you want to feel good. It just is uplifting. But say that you hurt your knee and it hurts. And it's just, not enough to, well, you want to take some Advil, but wait a minute and see what happens, because I want you to think of something. Put your hands on your knee and just think of something that makes you feel good. And just hold your knee and think about whatever it was that had your energy field expanding. You can have your kids do this. Children are amazing at this. And all you have to remind them to do is think of ice cream. Well, we could think of ice cream. We could think of ice cream or unicorns or whatever they like to do. Maybe think of their best friend or playing dollhouse or making a soccer goal. Whatever makes them feel good, and they know what makes them feel good. If they fall down and hurt themselves, teach them this holding with their hands on either side of the area that hurts. A skin knee on either side, and think good thoughts. And it'll make it feel better. It's empowering. So now you have another tool in your toolbox. All right, so we've harnessed our energy. And that kind of sets the groundwork for what I think of as the serenity prayer. And many of us know this. And it's, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time. Oh, I agree with that. Enjoying one moment at a time. Yes, yes, yes. Accepting hardships as the pathway to peace. I don't think life has to be that hard. And taking as he did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it. I'd shift that just a bit as well. And we'll learn a little more as we go along. So pretty much I'm done with this prayer. And I want to thank Anita Thinkable for her rephrase. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know it's me. I have so much control over my life. It's mind-blowing. So our first topic tonight is heart-centered therapy. Heart Math Institute tells us that our heart is our first brain. We lead with our emotions, and then our brain figures out how to convince us that we're smarter than just our emotions, right? We back up our emotions with rationalization or rational thought. And then we also use this amazing brain to figure out how to make it happen. So that's a good thing too. But heart-centered therapy is based on the concept that the universe is loving, so that anything that happens to us has love behind it. And while this is difficult to comprehend with all the evil in the world, until you have seen it with your own experience, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. And this includes dis-ease, any kind of disease, whether that is environmental dis-ease, social dis-ease, or personal physical disease. Remember Anita Thinkable. I am the change. Who said that? Nelson Mandela. Be the change you want to see in the world. So just think that everything is happening for me, not to me. It's a little shift. So whenever something does happen that kind of takes you aback, that you weren't expecting, that you do not really want, what's the silver lining? What is the lesson that you're learning? We're either learning or we're growing. So that silver lining brings to mind an experience that I heard in a lecture. And the woman who was sharing was telling of a horrible, horrible relationship she had had. She had married a man who she felt she loved. And then there was a change. He became abusive, physically and emotionally. And she became frightened for her life and her safety. Well, her safety and her life. And finally, she picked herself up and she went and she left him. And there was a nasty divorce. There was so much vitriol in the relationship. And it all came out in court. And he went on with his life, and she was stuck. And one evening on New Year's, she was watching the fireworks all around the world. And she was reminiscing about the years that had passed, And what in the world had she done with her life? And she was just watching those fireworks and wondering what had gone wrong in her life, what had happened in her life. And she became mesmerized by these fireworks. And she decided, well, she didn't decide, excuse me, she kind of went into a little bit of a trance, kind of a little bit of a daydream. And she saw herself as a spirit in heaven, a soul in heaven, who'd been given the opportunity to come to this planet and experience life on this planet. And she wanted a lesson to be learned. She wanted to learn this time something that she had never, ever learned before. And she wanted that lesson to come to her with such force that she couldn't help but learn it. And she searched in her soul group, and no one would say yes to doing this. It was going to be so hard for them because they loved each other. There was so much love. And one person, one soul, she hunted down because he didn't want to be in the circle. They didn't want to be seen. And she begged and pleaded, and finally he said, okay, knowing that it would be so painful for both of them. And they came to Earth, and she wanted to learn the lesson of standing up for herself. So she married the guy whose soul was that soul partner that she'd made that contract with in heaven. And they came down and had that violent, vicious marriage. And she learned to stand up for herself. And she cried. And as she was telling the story, she was crying. And she had such a shift and such a reality happen that her heart was breaking with love for this man who had appeared to be out to kill her. And she called him, not knowing what he would do or say. And he answered the phone. And she shared what she saw. And he felt her shift. And he recognized the story that she told him to be true. And by the end of the night, sobbing over the phone together, they recognized the beauty of the relationship, gave her the power she needed to realize her self-worth, to get herself up and out of that relationship. So that is why I say, pay attention. It's all here for us. It's all for us, not to us. after that, I don't know. Pendulums seem rather light, don't they? But pendulums can help us with a lot of decisions. And perhaps if she had used a pendulum before marrying that man, she would have either not married him and found a different way to stand up for herself, or she would have married him and known there was, had some insight into, oh, there's something else here, because pendulums don't lie. They read your energy. So their pendulums are a fantastic tool to find out what is your yes or your no today. They can ground you, and they can give you a lot of insights. So how do you prepare for using a pendulum? First, you can find these. I like the quartz pendulum, but you can find a quartz stone and make your own. But I like a quartz stone because it is the best clearing that we can do. It's simple, it's easy to use, it's very, it's universal. And so what you want to do when you use a pendulum is you want to ground yourself. So grounding yourself would be making yourself really centered in your body. And you can do that by just planting your feet on the ground. When you meditate, if you meditate regularly, you know what grounding is. If you don't, just imagine you have roots growing out of the bottom of your feet, like you're a tree and you're solid in the earth. And then you take your pendulum and you really take some nice deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And you'll take this pendulum and you'll ask it first, what is yes? So for me, yes is usually this. It's like, it looks like it should be no, but it's actually yes. And look how well it's going. Okay, and we're going to ask it to stop. And now I'm going to ask it, what is my no today? And so I always like to, and what it's doing now is it's going front and back, front and back, front and back. So what I usually do, I test this every day because it might be different. Sometimes I've had it spin on me, and that's, just sometimes that's what no is today or yes is today. So when you want a yes or no answer, you can just ground yourself and just say, what's my yes, what's my no, and then should I do X, Y, or Z? And should I do X or Y? Or should I go to the store or not? Or however it wants to go. Should I go out with this person or not? Should I have chicken or fish? Maybe it's veggie night. So you ask. Another thing that you can do is write, if you have a variety of answers that you need, just write on a little piece of paper a different answer to a question all along. It might be you're testing your vitamin supplements and you don't need to have the bottle out. You can just write down, what it is, or a bottle of wine. You can test a bottle of wine. So you can put those all on a piece of paper and then just take your pendulum and put your pendulum over. Is this right for me? Is this right for me? And then just test each one of those pieces of paper. And that will give you so much insight as well. So you don't have to use this as an end all and be all, but it can help give you a little more insight, a little bit more comfort in deciding what to do in any given situation. But then another thing that we want to do is pay attention to knowing that it's our energy that we're talking about. So something else that I do, and you can learn to do if it's of interest to you, is called cord cutting. And so, what if you could be released from a bad day, the bad of any relationship, just the bad part, the part you don't like. My husband sometimes snores and he wakes me up at night. So if I release myself from that energy, either it doesn't bother me anymore, I fall asleep, or he stops snoring. So there's some pretty good solutions with that. So play with me and you can have just that. And I'm going to tell you an easy way to release the energy of other people so you can be more grounded and centered in yourself. And I'm going to ask you to place a rose, doesn't matter what color it is, just happen to have some white ones here. Place a rose about 15 inches out in front of you. Just imagine it's there. We're playing again with our imagination, and you're going to put it right out there in front of you. And now I'd like you just to allow the energy that doesn't belong to you, what you've picked up from others, whether others have given you and you've decided to carry it, place that energy into the rose. So just let that energy just bubble up and flow into that rose. You don't have to do anything. You may not notice anything at all. I'm just going to ask you to play with this opportunity to lighten your load. And if you are feeling things, notice where it's coming out. Where do you tend to carry everybody else's energy? Maybe it's your shoulders, maybe it's your heart or your gut. Maybe it's that area of nagging pain that you have. Just like it was for Shuka. Shuka did an amazing cord cutting. She had such pain in her body that was attached to her grandmother. And being the kind-hearted person that Shuka is, she did not want to give this pain to her grandmother because she felt it would hurt her grandmother. But the truth is, our energy always feels good to us, and somebody else's energy never feels good to us. Remember walking into a room where you could cut the tension in a knife? Yeah, with a knife? Yeah, it doesn't feel good, right? So Shuka was resistant to giving that energy back to her grandmother. But when she finally did, she could, in her mind's eye, she could see her grandmother dancing and laughing. It felt so good to have her energy back. And Shuka felt so much better after releasing that energy of someone else. So now perhaps you've heard of Eden energy medicine. Well, Donna Eden healed herself of, I think it was like 3 autoimmune issues through a system that she has learned and taught to others. And some of her techniques are very simple and yet very profound. And one of the favorites I have is when I'm feeling unbalanced when I'm feeling nervous, if I have to give a presentation, if I'm going to have a tough conversation, I want to have myself balanced on my left and my right hand side. And that is done by swaying in a figure eight. So you know how you sway when you have a baby in your arms? Well, you're just going to add a little figure eight to it. And you can make it very big if you want to make it very big. Or you can make it so minute that it can't even be seen. So you can, in your hip bowl, in your pelvic bowl between your hips, you can just sway inside and nobody can see you. And that's if you're going to have a tough conversation. Another thing that you can do is cross your arms. Now, I know that we have heard over and over again that crossing your arms can be a defensive posture. And they're absolutely right. It can be. But crossing your arms like the guy on the left is actually a balancing and a sign that he's listening. Whereas the guy on the right is protecting himself. So what that looks like is both hands, if you're balancing yourself, you have both hands on the outsides of your arm. You can have one a little more towards your elbow, one a little more up, and then just stand with your hands in front. This actually is not as offsetting or off-putting as when we cross our arms, tucking one in or tucking both in. That is more a protective stance. So just play with that and notice people's response. You know, you could even say, hey, you know, with friends, I'm going to play with this new idea. And you tell me what you think is going on. So the next thing we're going to talk about tonight, and one of the other things of healing from the outside in, is manifestation. Just follow the laws of the universe. And we're all stuck in the law of attraction. I mean, we hear about that all the time. But there are actually 12 laws. We have the laws of divine oneness. We're all one. We have the law of vibration. We have the law of action, correspondence, cause and effect. Whatever I do has an equal or greater opposite reaction. The law of compensation, giving and receiving. And one of the best things to practice in giving and receiving, if you have a tough time receiving, is breathing. And you breathe in as deeply as you can, accept, receive until you cannot receive anymore. And then you blow out and you give, blow it out until you cannot give anymore. And then you settle in. Do that as much as you want and then settle into a nice give and take. And that is how we're supposed to live. We have the law of attraction. Birds of a feather flock together, right? And the perpetual transmutation of energy. So energy is always changing, always moving. the law of relativity, the law of polarity, which is for one side. Well, the best description of the law of polarity is think of a thermometer. And I'm just going to say it's cold on the bottom and hot on the top, right? And so at the bottom, it's cold. And at the top, it's hot. And then at the bottom, it gets less cold and less cold and less cold as it moves up and less cold until it's neither hot nor cold. And then it gets warmer and warmer still and warmer until it's all the way up to hot. So that's like when Abraham Hicks talks about two ends of a stick, right? You can't have something without having the opposite of it. So you can't have the opposite. You can't want the opposite without having the ability to get what you want. Then we have the law of rhythm and the law of gender. Everything has a male and female. Everything has an ebb and flow. And when you put all those together, that's when you get fireworks. Which brings me to my very, very favorite kind of healing. And that is ultimate healing. Cure anything, anytime, anywhere. And I'm going to give you a little tip on part of how this works. So again, we're going into our imagination, into our creative mind, and we're going to play. Okay, we're bringing our curiosity into this. And you can't do it wrong. You just can't. So what I'd like you to do is just sit and notice your sits bones on the chair. And I'd like you to just notice your posture. And this is really good for those of us who tend to slump, tend to get tired at the end of the day. So what I'd like you to imagine is from the base of your skull all the way down to your bottom of your spine at your tailbone, I'd like you to notice a rod, a gold rod. And notice how it feels to have this rod in your back. And gold is the highest vibration of healing that our bodies can handle. And so we want this rod to be gold. And just notice if your posture improves, if you feel stronger in your back. And now I'm going to invite you to extend the rod in your back down into the center of the earth. Down into the ground as far as you can do it, from your tailbone all the way straight down into the earth. And now I'd like you to notice that it's gold. And what do you notice now? What do you notice with your posture? What do you notice with your sense of stability? And now I'd like you to extend that rod all the way up out the top of your head, all the way to the heavens. Go to infinity if you want, And just notice what it feels like to be connected all the way with your gold rod, all the way up to heaven and all the way down to the center of the earth. Notice how strong you feel. Notice how your back feels. Notice how your gut feels. Feel more solid in your body. Notice how your head feels. Does it feel more clear and calm? Maybe it does, and maybe it doesn't. I'd love for you to practice this exercise every day before you sit down to your computer, or when you sit down to your computer for the day's work, if that's how you work. But every day, start your day with this exercise. Excuse me, and then you can also try it at the end of the day and see how that goes for you. And there are many, many other tools similar to that you can actually learn how to do that can clear your head, clear your relationships, clear any problems that you might have with work, a job, whatever. And here is Shuka again. She graduated from one of the programs. And I'd like you to share what she created. She was looking to move to the West Coast. And she started working with me, and it was going to be for 3 months. And our goal was to get her the job she wanted, the place she wanted it, with a nice place to live, everything she wanted. Within a month, I get a text from her. She said, Sally, we're going to have to figure out how to work on a different time zone because I went out and got my interview. They hired me on the spot. I'm moving next week. You can shift that energy anytime you want. You just want to know how. So what are the basics of our conversation here today? If you walk away with nothing else, I want you to remember you're responsible. If it's not working out as you'd like, look at what part you have in it. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. And to be unattached to the outcome. That doesn't mean disinterested. That doesn't mean not involved or engaged. That just means you're living 100% full out, knowing that whatever happens, it's for your best good. It's not happening to you. So you're okay with whatever happens. You'll make it, you'll figure it out, and it'll be just fine. So what if you had a magic wand and you could have it any way you wanted it? What do you want? What could you want? Yeah, the sky's the limit. In fact, after this, you might want to take a piece of paper and just write down your dreams. I want to go to the Galapagos. I really do. It's on my list. So if you want to talk, let's book a complimentary discovery call. And you can do it at bit.ly/your_truth. So you know exactly what is true for you. And you may want to just take a photo of this so that you can come back to it. And this is my Kim. She is an amazing person. She's a talented artist. She is an intuitive. And for her to say that I am highly intuitive blew me away. She also has experienced some of the work that I do. And she loved how she could feel in balance and become even more aware of all the possibilities of her life. She was and is highly attuned. But when you can work with somebody else, sometimes it just gives you that extra edge. And I thank Kim daily for that. So if you just want to know more, maybe just too much to have a conversation, but you do want to know more. You know, you love the idea of alternative therapies. You love enjoying learning. You are one of those people who wants to know more or wants to try new modalities because everything you've tried hasn't worked. You know, I hear people come to me and they say, I've tried everything and I'm still dealing with this issue. And it's hard. I know it. And I learned over 35 years and I'm still learning. I can't wait to share the new modality I'm getting certified in. But you can have what you want. And if you think you've tried everything, you've just tried everything you know. So here's an opportunity that may be right up your alley. It's a membership. And why a membership? Because you get answers when you need them as the issues arise. You're in a supportive group and you get to dive deeper into every modality because no one should have to go this alone. Backstep here, when you dive into each modality, when you come to the trainings, you get, like you did here, a taste of that modality so you know if it's a good fit for you. So you save yourself time of research, time of driving and finding the practitioner, money that you could use for something that's going to propel you forward. Not that going to places that didn't work is a bad thing. Edison learned, 999 ways not to make a light bulb before he finally did. So yourblissfuljourney.com/membership. And how it works. We have monthly interactive classes. We have virtual access. We have connections and community. And there's a resource library. We have guest speakers who come in because I don't know everything. And there are so many modalities out there. And I count on you. You hear something you'd like to try or learn about, shoot me an email, post it in the Facebook group. And then I'll do what I can to find a competent, qualified speaker to come and share that modality with you. I mean, we even had somebody tell us how to look good on Zoom, because when you look good, you feel good. It goes both ways. When you feel good, you look good. So all of the things that we talked about are included in live monthly classes where we have an interchange, an exchange of information and questions. That's a value of $1,200. We have a weekly bliss tip, private online forum, a Sense of Sense essential oil masterclass that's free for members, and a bonus class all about pendulums that is free for members as well. And you can read, so I'm not going to go through each and every little thing here. So the total value of the membership benefits is $1,900, over $1,900, but your investment in yourself is only $37 a month. And a one-time purchase is $297. So that even saves you over and above. It saves you $147 the monthly membership fee. Sorry about that. We just had that class, but the next class coming up is the Alchemy Mastermind, where we get together and practice things and work in a group and tell stories amongst each other that move us forward and have us be supportive. And that is February 4th at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And a bonus just for you are the essential oils study and education with free samples. We have this includes the live monthly Alchemy of Healing class, like I said, $1,200, the Bliss Tip videos, audios, and ebooks, to $520. Well, on chatting with each other is priceless, right? The pendulums offered quarterly is $108, and the Sense of Sense essential oils class, which is twice a year, for your yearly membership, that's $74. And again, sorry, I changed the slides and I must not have saved them properly. Apologies to you. But here you go again. And if you sign up within the next 2 days, I'll throw in an intuitive reading valued at $69. So that does it for our chat today. I really, really enjoyed sharing with you. I hope you learned some stuff. I'd love to hear your insights, input, anything you like. Your opinions are always welcome. So I hope to talk with you soon. And I hope you enjoy your day. Now, I'm just going to stop this recording